Well, hello and welcome to the sixth video in the series about my fan writing. Speaking to you again from Dresden in Germany, and it's been snowing here, but it has been sunny this afternoon. So last night I dreamt that there was a whole album of Queen fan poetry that hadn't been written by me, because I woke up to realise that it was just a dream. But before I start talking about Queen fan poetry and other Queen fan writing, I just wanted to draw your attention to an account over on X, formerly Twitter, where poetry is regularly written about Adam, in fact. So there it is, Shadow Whisper. And because this person writes about Adam, they've also written about QAL as well. So when it comes to fan poetry in the Queen world, it's been obviously a sad anniversary this week of Freddie's passing. There was a book that was published back in 2011 to commemorate the 20th anniversary of that, and it was called Bohemian Rhapsodies. There it is, there's my copy. And this was a collection of mainly writing from fans and celebrities. It includes some poetry, and I wrote a piece in there. There's also some visual art actually, but it had to be produced in black and white. Brian wrote a dedication at the front mentioning the 20th anniversary of Freddie's passing, and Peter Freestone wrote the preface. And as I say, my piece in it was autobiographical. So that leads me nicely onto the book I wrote, because I've got another plug for my book, an ebook that I wrote 10 years after this book was published. So in 2021, Bohemia Plays My Life, Our Times and Queen. And I just wanted to draw your attention to the artwork because it was done by my daughter. So here I'll show you. So there it is. So basically, she was working from a 70s Queen picture. I thought it was appropriate, bearing in mind the history I had regarding the band that I wrote about in the book, that it was a 70s picture. So when it comes to this like fan memoir thing, of course, most fans aren't interested in reading memoirs by other fans. If they want to read something, they tend to want to read something by someone who worked with the band in some way or other. But it's quite interesting to note that there is at least one other example of a fan memoir, not written in the Queen fan world, but in the Beatles fan world. And I found out about this through an article in The Guardian in March 2022. And it was quite an interesting title because this is another area where we can focus actually as to what's happening with regard to fan creativity. So let's take a look at this. So the title of this piece is it's a more expansive, inclusive version, How Women Reshape the History of the Beatles. Well, that was pretty fascinating because I've noticed really that, I'm not only out on my own being a fan writer, but when it comes to non-fiction stuff, the Queen world of podcasting is overwhelmingly male, actually. But anyway, I from this article I found out about this lady called Janice Mitchell. She's mentioned here, and she wrote a fan memoir, and it's had an intriguing title, Ticket to Ride, How I Ran Away to England to Meet the Beatles and Got Rock and Roll Banned in Cleveland. And I read this book. I have to say that I found it really interesting. She obviously ran away to England to meet the Beatles. She didn't actually meet them, but it was a very interesting snapshot of the time. And Obviously, that's something that's out there. As I say, it was covered by The Guardian. Um, so that's also another point. In fact, as I say, when it comes to this whole spectrum of things that have been written around Queen, and it's like interesting, as I say, to note that we seem to have all, most of the creativity now revolving around visual art. But, I know that writing, even with the Bohemian Rhapsodies book that I mentioned, I don't think it's ever been popular, fan writing, not in the same way as visual art has been. Another thing I do, of course, talking about the podcasts I mentioned earlier. I mean, the podcasters are talking about particular Queen songs. So I write about particular Queen songs. And I've just found an article that was only written this week, actually, to show it's from Smooth Radio, and it's about the song "You're My Best Friend." So I had a read of that because I'm intrigued. When I see articles like that, obviously coming from in this case, a radio station, but in general the music press. And was intrigued to know sort of like what was covered in that article and how it compared to what I'd done on the same song, because I wrote about "You're My Best Friend" at the beginning of this year, actually, January. And I found that, I'd written about exactly the same things, more or less, in principle, as well as writing some more than this person had written about it. So I guess that, again, being a fan writer, I've got that particular aspect to add to these particular pieces. So it's another aspect of what I do. And those who have been paying attention to what I post on Instagram, and sometimes they go on to X as well, where they get retweeted on occasions or reposted, as you have to say now. And these are like little pieces about various Queen songs. I've written them far more than I've posted, actually. Okay, so that's almost it for today. Just to as a snapshot of what's going on in the world of fan writing in general, not just Queens. There's just one other person who we follow each other here on Instagram, who's got a background in Queen writing as well, and he's Daniel Nestor. So just going to show you his profile. Here's his profile on Instagram. Oh, look, you can see the snow out there. And there it is. So Daniel went to see a QAL concert. He wrote about the QAL concert he went to see, and I've read his review of that. So that was great. Okay, well, I think that's it for today. Hope you found out a few things with regard to what we can say about fan writing, both within the Queen world and outside it. And next week, it's going to be to do with what I wrote for the Queen Fan Club magazine about We Will Rock You Zurich premiere, which was the anniversary of which is coming up, December 2006. So, thanks again for joining me, and hope to speak to you again soon. Bye for now.